So, Microsoft, in their infinite wisdom, released a new blog, and man, I feel like I'm getting deja vu. Now, to be clear, what I'm reading of the tech is that it's a different model, but generally the same technique. Take an already finished game, train a model on both the graphics and player inputs, and then have that model spit out something remotely playable. The first thing to point out is that all of the generated gameplay examples are these tiny thumbnails you can't even expand, but still, you can tell that, just like Game Engine, this stuff gets janky as hell the longer the video goes on. Why is it this tiny? Well, because the model is trained on a 300 by 180 pixel resolution. Did I mention this is based on a 2020 video game called Bleeding Edge? In 2020, we're doing at least 1920 by 1080. At least with Game Engine's examples, they were training on a resolution that was at least sort of equivalent with Doom's original resolution. By the way, did I mention that this game is an online multiplayer game? Why would you ever, in a million years, want AI-generated gameplay of this? Even only as an example for training a model. And why did they stop supporting it just a year after launch? Well, it's because Microsoft and Ninja Theory ripped your gameplay off of you. If you agreed to Microsoft's EULA to play this game, guess what? Your matches were recorded to train an LLM. Once they got what they needed, they ditched the game and got to work on this model. Yeah, And I don't even really want to unpack this, but I just know some real unscrupulous companies will start sneaking this into your EULAs. So be sure to read them carefully, And no, Microsoft, there's really nothing very ethical about this. Y'all know that players are unlikely to read EULAs for a game that they already bought and are determined to play. Legal? Maybe. I'm not a lawyer. But ethical? No. Jesus. They also mention the motivation for this research is answering the question, what are the implications of this achievement for our team's work at the intersection of artificial intelligence and video games? And by this achievement, they mean OpenAI's text-to-video game prompter. Yeah, that's it. It's an extremely vague and open question that could be really answered pretty simply. It sucks and doesn't work and therefore shouldn't be used. But no, they had to go and gather a bunch of player data. And they sat on it for a while, actually. You know the deal with the rest of this. Take an absurd amount of data and GPUs to refine a model at 300p a million times to still look like an unrecognizable blob after about 5 seconds. This is really not meaningfully different from the Game Engine stuff we saw about half a year ago. The tech being used is just different. The model still really struggles with numbers as well, I see. But of course, this blog touts it as a miracle. How it's consistent and persistent and all the rest. I'm not going to go into this. We know it looks like trash, and so do they. But they gotta bump up that stock price, so they're gonna pretend it's treasure. In a video, along with the announcement that's since been unlisted, can't imagine why, Phil Spencer mentions he thinks Muse will be great for video game preservation, which, Jesus, God, no. First and foremost, this is a slap in the face to the people who actually work on game preservation within his company, or alongside it. And while I have my beefs with the Kexport of Doom, that is actual game preservation efforts, at least in a general sense. I realize there's differences between preservation and remasters, but in any case, there's companies doing this work, Night Dive being one of the hottest in this part of the industry. And do they use AI? No, they use people who actually give a fuck about video games. Secondly, this is like saying you can use a photograph to preserve a piece of physical art. While it's preserved in a sense, it can be altered, changed, updated, until it no longer resembles what it actually was. The photograph copy may also turn out blurry, or have the wrong lighting setting, or be tilted slightly at the time of its capture. Ironically, the founder of the Video Game History Foundation, Frank Cifaldi, used the same analogy, and I swear, I came up with that before I saw his post. Thirdly, Phil, if the people making this model actually gave a fuck about video games and their preservation, then they would have continued to have Ninja Theory update and give the support to Bleeding Edge that it needed to thrive as an online hero shooter. This game's basically already a piece of lost media, and it's only about 5 years old. No gamer or game developer wants this. I don't care that a breakthrough is 5 years away or 50 years away. I want humans who are paid more to make better video games. The obsession with Gen AI is dehumanizing in every form of its creation and marketing. It's cynical, stupid, and short-sighted. A bump in your stock prices today, meaning a loss of life tomorrow. That statistic, quoted in The Big Short, that for every 1% of unemployment, there's 40,000 deaths.
You know what I hate about fucking banking? It reduces people to numbers. Here's a number. Every 1% unemployment goes up, 40,000 people die. Did you know that?
No.
Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
We were just excited.
Yeah, it's real. Maybe not that specific number, but there's absolutely correlation. And what do we keep hearing every single day in our industry? That more and more people are laid off, often without warning, even if their game is a giant success. It has to stop.